Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Our big talking point. Is it time for a total review and revamp of India's premier medical exam process, the NEET exam? Is it time to say this is not so neat after all? Will the NEET students get justice? Our continuing campaign for them tonight here on the news today. But also Manipur, a year and more of violence. The newly elected MP, Dr. Bimal Oikojam, will be joining me, telling me why is Manipur still a state under siege. Back in a moment, but first, as always, the 9 headlines at 9. The National Testing Agency gets a rap on the knuckles from the Supreme Court over the NEET controversy. Top court says if there was a 0.001% negligence in country's premier medical exam, it should be thoroughly dealt with. Suspense over who will be the next Lok Sabha Speaker. NDA leaders meet. BJP allies say final decision to pick a name with Prime Minister Modi. Opposition wants the Deputy Speaker post this time. Prime Minister's farmer outreach in his first visit to his constituency Varanasi after the election win. Releases 17th installment of PM Kisan Nidhi funds worth 20,000 crores for farmers. Politics speaks over Rahul Gandhi's Rai Bareli pick. BJP accuses him of betraying voters of Wayanad, says Priyanka Gandhi Vadra being made a political scapegoat. After poll defeat, YSRCP chief and former Andhra Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy calls for a move towards voting by paper ballots. TDP Janasena slam Reddy, call him a sore loser. NCRT replaces Azad Park with Park-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, adds China's aggression reference in a Class 12 political science textbook. Built for rupees 12 crores, a bridge in Bihar's Araria collapses even before inauguration. Probe ordered into the collapse. Massive boost for Made in India in defense. Government kickstarts mega attack helicopter order. Orders for 156 attack helicopter lifts off. BCCI's Cricket Advisory Committee interviews Gautam Gambhir for the position of the Indian head coach. He is believed to be the front runner. Will take over from Rahul Dravid. But our top story tonight, it's the controversy that has affected lakhs of students and their parents across the country. Today, the Supreme Court stepped into the NEET exam controversy involving the country's premier medical exam. It has issued notices to the centre and the National Testing Agency over allegations of irregularities and alleged paper leaks in the NEET-UG exams this year. The top court said there shouldn't be any negligence at all in conducting such exams, as it hampers the lives of lakhs of students. Tonight's top story, the NEET exam controversy. Is it time to review the way the exam is conducted? First, our top report.
Students on warpath, raising concerns about NEET, the national eligibility test for admission into medical colleges.
हम इतने साल से कुछ तो भी हम प्रिपेयर करें और पेरेंट्स के ऊपर हम होम्स लगाए, वो सब कुछ पानी में गया ना, तो हम अभी हमको नीट चाहिए और ये हमको जस्टिस दिलाना है.
हमारा डिमांड है कि एनटीए को रिजेक्ट करना और नीट एग्जाम को रिकंडक्ट करना है और जो भी स्टूडेंट जिसको जस्टिस नहीं मिला है उन लोगों को डेफिनेटली जस्टिस देना.
As outrage and anger grows, the Supreme Court has blasted the National Testing Authority, the agency responsible for conducting the NEET exam. While hearing a batch of petitions over alleged irregularities in the exam, the top court has called for timely action. The Supreme Court said, and I quote, even if there is 0.001% negligence on the part of anyone, it should be thoroughly dealt with. A bench of Justice Vikram Nath and Justice S.V.N. Bhati told the NTA that it needs to admit there is a mistake and fix it. The top court also observed that the agency should not forget the efforts students put in to prepare for one of the toughest entrance exams in the country. Unquote. The Supreme Court has issued notices to the Centre and National Testing Agency demanding a response by July 8. Meanwhile, politics over the issue continues to escalate. The Aam Aadmi Party hit the streets in the capital.
करोड़ों नौजवानों का भविष्य बर्बाद हुआ पिछले 2 साल में। कभी पुलिस भर्ती का पेपर लीक हो जाता है, कभी नीट का पेपर लीक हो जाता है, कभी जेई का पेपर लीक हो जाता है। तो ये देश के नौजवानों की जिंदगी के साथ एक बड़ा खिलवाड़ है और इसलिए मैं मांग करता हूं कि इसमें जो लोग शामिल हैं उनको एक टाइम बाउंड तरीके से इन्वेस्टिगेशन करा के उनको सजा दिलाई जाए, सख्त से सख्त सजा दिलाई जाए, उनकी गिरफ्तारी की जाए। ये सीधे सीधे मोदी सरकार के अधीन आने वाले शिक्षा मंत्रालय का घोटाला है, एनटीए का घोटाला है।
Congress MP Rahul Gandhi has questioned the Prime Minister's silence on the issue.
Actually, the Union Education Minister has no moral right to continue as an education minister. Last 5 years, he was continuing as a Minister of Education. Entire examinations credibility had been questioned. The NEET examination is the latest thing. This NEET examination is the latest things. He himself is admitting some gadbadi ho gaya.
It's clear that the NEET exam needs an overhaul. The future of lakhs of students is at stake. With Abdul Bashir in Hyderabad and Amit Bharadwaj and Milan Sharma in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise the big question then at the top of the show. Is it a time for a total review of the NEET exam process? Will NEET students ever get justice? Has the government been living in denial for much too long on the NEET exam? Is there simply a better way of conducting this premier medical exam? Joining me now, special guest, Dr. Rahul Chawla is AIIMS neurologist, writer, NEET mentor. He's been a topper in the NEET exam in 2008. Maheshwar Perry is founder and chairman at Careers 360. He's been tracking this issue now for weeks. Vivek Thakur is managing director and founder of and former alumni of IIT Kharagpur. He'll give us a perspective also from a coaching center perspective. Saransh Ojha is a NEET aspirant. I appreciate each of you joining me here on the news today. Let me come to you, Dr. Rahul Chawla first. As someone who's been a topper himself in a NEET exam, has the time come to completely relook at this exam? Because this is happening year after year. Even if in one center or 2 centers, as the government is claiming, there could have been something that went wrong. Is that enough to say, let's totally revamp this exam?
Sir, it doesn't look like something has went wrong. It looks like so many things have went wrong at so many levels that just puts up, so many irregularities that have come across and so many coincidences that it really needs the Supreme Court and the center to just look up what is exactly happening with the NTA and the way the exam has been conducted. And I cannot say anything about conducting a re-NEET, but I think the investigation should be done. And
so what according when you say so many irregularities, let's one by one, and I'll put the graphic on what are the so-called irregularities. There is the alleged allegation that how come suddenly in an exam you have 67 people maxing the papers and getting 720, many of them from the same coaching center. That's one irregularity. The second irregularity is the manner in which grace marks are given. The fact, as I said, 6 out of 67 who got full marks were from one center. So you have the grace marks issue. On what basis do you give grace marks? 44 out of 67 toppers answered a physics question incorrectly. Then they are told there are 2 answers to that question. So they are given the benefit of that. So I want to understand from you, when you say there are so many irregularities, is it enough, you believe, to call for a complete review of this exam in the future, Rohit?
Well, actually, minor impersonation cases, few cases of paper leak, that happens almost every year. And medical entrance examinations, they are known to be having such instances of paper leak. It's very common, but not at this scale, at this magnitude. It is the first time it has happened that more than 60 students have scored full out of full marks. Now, this doesn't happen in any competitive exam. Look at JEE, look at UPSC, look at CLAT. There's so many entrance examinations, but have you ever come across such an instance where so many students are getting full out of full marks? 67 students. Out of
you
which
think दाल में कुछ काला है? You're saying दाल में कुछ काला है या पूरी दाल काली है?
See, there are so many coincidences, so many irregularities, and these coincidences cannot be just mere coincidences. There is something really wrong out here. And also, because this exam determines the future of a student, whether the person will be doctor or not. And in case our society is producing that kind of doctors who have passed through grace marks, who have got admitted through unfair means, then I don't know what quality of doctors we will be generating, and they'll be treating the patients and the society as a whole.
Okay, you're making very serious points. You believe that the irregularities are much more than what the government claims. Maheshwar Perry, founder and chairman, Careers 360, you've been writing, tweeting, blogging on this issue extensively. Do you believe, as the government is claiming, that look, there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the way the National Testing Agency conducts the exam, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater?
No, I think, Rajdeep, the larger issue that government must understand is it must start understanding the issues faced by the students than being a spokesperson for the NTA. NTA is an independent body, and the government must be speaking out, trying to understand the issues faced by the student. The issue is not just about 67 toppers. 67 toppers is unparalleled and not possible, if you ask me personally, right? Perfect score by 67 people. You look at the rank and score inflation that happened across the board, right? At 700 marks, last year you had 294 people sneaking in.
I'll put up that graphic also.
At 600 marks, last year it was 26,000. Yeah, and at 600 marks, it's 26,000, it's 80,000. So across the board, for the top seats, the government seats, if I may say so, you actually have a score inflation that happened. And it is not about 100,000 seats that students are fighting for, Rajdeep. Of the 100,000, about 45,000 are private and deemed university seats, which are extremely expensive. So many students don't even compete for that, right? What you're left with is 55,000 of government seats, of which if you remove the reserved categories and all, we're dealing with 30,000 seats. Most of the students are competing to be a part of the 30,000. So you actually have a demand supply of 23 lakh versus, or whatever you remove the categories, about 15 lakhs to 30,000 seats. So when you actually have that kind of a demand supply situation, and you have some paper leak taking away 3,000-4,000, because a lot of people told me, listen, 1,500 students. No, it's not 1,500. It's 1,500 out of 30,000 seats, and not 1,500 out of 24 lakh students.
No, but the demand, but Mahesh, irrespective, that demand supply situation is not going to change. 23 lakh students who are battling for 30,000 seats, that's not going to change.
I agree with you, Rajdeep. But of the 30,000 that are available, if you have 5,000-7,000 seats being taken away by these kind of means, it can be a paper leak or a grace mark or whatever it is, then it's much more dramatic, isn't it? So all I'm trying to say is that it is not 1,563 out of 24 lakh. It is 1,563 who may be actually laying a claim on these 30,000 seats, which is where the outrage is. And more importantly, Rajdeep, there are 2 or 3 centers that have been caught. It doesn't mean that, once you have a paper leak, you actually have it extensively. It's much beyond 3. And by experience, I can tell you that it's much, much beyond 3. Go back to the 21-22 case that happened in JEE, where 820 students were caught having, influenced the scoring pattern and gotten into NITs. So the issue is much beyond this. What we see, the 1,563 are students who complained. By the way, that's very important. These students complained to the High Court, different courts, because of which they got a grace mark. Are you saying that from now on, every student, after they write the examination, come out of the examination hall, complain to the High Court so that they actually have a better hearing from the NTA? That's not the way you run a country.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree on that point with you more.
It is not just 3.
I've taken your point, Mahesh, on board. I'll come back because I'm going to want solutions. We've identified that there are irregularities, and Vivek Thakur, you can pick up from where Mahesh let off. The fact is, there are coaching centers, and we are seeing it with JEE, we are seeing it now with NEET as well. You're managing director and founder of Scholars Den and former alumni of IIT Kharagpur. I want to ask you, is the entire system, as they would say, sab mile hue hain? Or is it that there are a few rotten apples who are giving the entire system a bad name? That there are certain coaching centers, certain places where possibly the entire system is being scammed. And as Mahesh says, if there are 1,500 students who are perhaps benefiting out of 30,000, that's quite a substantial number.
Rajdeep ji, coming back to your original question कि दाल में कुछ काला है या दाल ही काला है, I would say दाल ही काला है, because I had been fighting with the system for a long time now. In 2017, I fought a case against IIT Madras. There was a bonus marks case. I have been active for students' rights. Now, I would say, coming back to the question, see, parallel to the NEET exam, if you see, IITs have been conducting JEE for so many years now. They have a structure, they have a system, they have personnel. IIMs have been conducting CAT for so many years now. There had not been any major chaos. In this exam, NEET, you find for almost 5-6 years now, since the NTA has taken over from CBSE, there had been issues almost every year. If you go to the ground, because I am a person who goes to the centers, exam centers every year to wish my students, what I see there, that the conduct of exam, the organization is much poorer even to the board exams. Now, the stakes here are very high. Because in a board exam, there is not a situation like this where, like a student, like he was saying, Mahesh was saying that in government medical colleges, there are 48,000 seats. So suppose a student gets into a seat in government medical colleges, the total expense for his MBBS would be around 5-6 lakhs. If he doesn't get it, he has to go to a private medical college where the expenses are almost to the tune of 1 crore. So the stakes are very high here. So there would be people, obviously, there are rackets running almost for 5-6 years. This year, the furor is very high. The outroar is very strong because the inflation is very strong. Every year there were people, 300, 400, 500 people who were benefiting from this, all the scamsters. There is an entire racket, and the students know the rates. And I talk to many students.
When you say student, no, 1 minute. When you say today, Vivek Thakur to me on this program, students know the rate. You are telling me students are being able to buy their way. Are they buying the papers?
Yes, students are telling that every year students get offers that if you want paper 2 hours before the exam, the rate is 5 lakh. And it's very common. This is along the lines what Patna EOU has got the confessions from the scam mafia, from this cheating mafia. They confess that yes, they have charged 30 lakhs rupees per candidate. And this is the same rate that the students told me 5 days before this.
You are telling me students told you if you want the paper 2 hours in before you have to pay 5 lakhs. That's what you're telling me.
2 days before or 1 day before you have to pay.
No, who is this? A middleman? There are middlemen who is running the racket?
Yes, there are rackets running, and there is one Telegram video which has gone viral just after the results came, that the government need to investigate, where it was clearly written that my students would top this exam. Wait for the results to come, and the cutoff will be higher this year. He predicted the exact cutoff. That cutoff would be 650 plus. And this year, the cutoff has actually come from 600 to 650. It is
so
a situation
you are saying coaching, you are telling me coaching centers.
No, not coaching centers.
No,
who is mafias?
No, the exam mafias. If you know about it, doesn't the National Testing Agency also know about it? Doesn't NTA know this?
No, that is to be investigated because. See, these things in common domain, the students know that they come with this, they get these offers, and this rackets has been running for many years now. Going for a similar situation.
Let me just bring in Saransh Oza. You are a NEET aspirant. You are again one of those many students who perhaps are angry at the way this is being done. Saransh, ye mujhe bataiye, do you know of this? What is being told to me on the show? Ki if you 2 hours before you can get the paper for 5 lakhs?
Sir, back to the Vivek Thakur sir statement that I have also received lots of calls regarding NEET scam. Some consulting agencies calls me and demands me 30 lakh, and they said that they will give you the exam paper exactly 2 hours before the exam. And
आपको phone call आया था, सारांश आपको phone call आया था, आप कह रहे हैं?
Yes sir, I have received a lots of call.
राजदीप जी बहुत सारे students के बाद call recording भी है.
On 4th May, I have received a call from Indore. He had demanded me 1.5 lakhs for the question paper, and he had told me a way that he will create a Google ID and save a folder in the drive, and then I had to log in on that, and I will see the question paper.
You know, you're telling, and has any of your fellow students recorded? Do you have call recordings?
Sorry sir.
आपके पास call recording है? ये जो जिसने phone किया है, the person who has called. Do you have a call recording of
sir,
it?
Unfortunately, sir, मेरे पास कोई recording नहीं. I have changed my phone, sir.
Vivek, but you have a call recording of this?
Yes.
Your students have a
call recordings.
Sir, but
yes,
but this
I have even the video which went viral.
Parent has to face.
Okay, 1 minute. One by one. Are you surprised by what you're hearing, Dr. Rahul Chawla, as a former topper, as an AIMS neurologist, as a NEET mentor, here on this show? And I've heard this because I am a father of of a doctor who's gone through NEET and NEET PG. They've been claiming that there are from time to time these reports come out of NEET paper leaks, of students having access possibly to some of the paper. Are you surprised? Is this common practice? Have you heard of this?
Well, Rajdeep sir, this gives me a sense of deja vu. Because when I was preparing for entrances back in 2007, 2008, I was told that suppose I was preparing for MP-PMT and there were 100 or 120 seats and I belong to a general category. I was told that I have only 30 seats available for competition. I asked them why. Because they told me that for a general category students, you have 50 to 60% seats. And divided by 2, the 50% of which is known to be blocked through unfair means. So it was a very known phenomenon that these kind of paper leaks.
So you're saying this is nothing new? It has been happening.
It is nothing new. Yeah,
okay, last 20. Has it become more extensive though? Has it become more extensive because the stakes are higher now? There are many more students competing. There are, the demand supply situation is getting worse. Is it worse now, Dr. Chawla?
Actually, previously, these kind of instances were more commonly seen in state PMTs like MP PMT. You already had the Appam scam, then Haryana PMT, Delhi PMT, whereas the AI PMT used to be conducted by CBSE. And in AI PMT, these kind of instances were not known. From 2015 onwards, it was decided that we scrap all the state entrance examinations, all the institutional examinations, and we have a single examination, NEET, conducted by a central agency. So it was thought that having an examination conducted by a central agency would put a full stop to all these kind of paper leaks and impersonation and these kind of unfair means. But however, these kind of paper leaks, they still continue. And the kind of result which we have got this year, it is like unprecedented. We have not seen this kind of results even in state PMTs. So even in state PMTs, like I was a topper, I secured rank 2 in MP PMT. So the question to unfair means was never put on toppers. The toppers never used to belonging to the unfair means. It was only few students were sprinkled around, middle ranks who used to come through unfair means. But this time, so many toppers.
Okay,
I'm a huge question mark.
Okay, I want to stop you at this moment. I've got another student who's joining me. Vivek Priyadarshi is another NEET aspirant. Vivek, आप क्या कहना चाहोगे? Have on the show, एक स्टूडेंट ने हमें बता दिया है कि उनका कहना है कि एग्जाम के 2 घंटे पहले फोन कॉल आ रहे थे कि अगर आपको पेपर का कुछ हिस्सा चाहिए या पेपर चाहिए, आपको 5 लाख देने पड़ेंगे.
सर, इसके बारे में मैंने सुना था. जब मैं एग्जाम सेंटर पे पहुंचा था तो वहां पे बहुत सारे लोगों ने ये बोला था कि उनके पास कॉल आया है. बट सर, मेरे साथ सर एक और दिक्कत हुई थी. सर, मैं जिस क्लास में बैठा था, एनटीए का जिस सेंटर था, पुलिस लाइन था, पुलिस कैंपस था सर, मॉडर्न पुलिस कैंपस था सर. वहां पे मेरा एग्जाम हुआ. वहां पे सर मुझे 3rd क्लास की सीट पे बिठाया गया, जिस वजह से सर मेरा पेपर भी छूटा. और सर ये बहुत उसकी वजह से सर मैं एक
नहीं, 3rd क्लास की सीट का मतलब क्या है? 3rd क्लास की सीट का मतलब क्या है?
सर 3rd क्लास की सीट एक सर, हम जब आप बैठे हैं सर, एक प्रॉपर टेबल चेयर रहती है. अगर सर आपको एक छोटे बच्चे की सीट पे बिठा दिया जाए, आप कंफर्टेबली नहीं बैठ पाएंगे. और उसके बाद सर आप 3 घंटे एग्जाम देना है, आप नहीं बैठ पाएंगे. सर एनटीए ने बहुत बड़ी गलती की. उसकी वजह से सर मुझे बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हुआ. मेरा पेपर छूटा सर.
आपका पेपर छूटा, यानी आप कह रहे हैं कुछ बच्चों को सही टेबल मिला, कुछ को सही टेबल नहीं मिला, ये आप कह रहे हैं?
नहीं सर, बिल्कुल नहीं मिला सर. चाहे आप वहाँ पे मॉडर्न पुलिस स्कूल है सर इन बरेली, आप सर उसमें चेक कर लीजिएगा सर. 3rd क्लास की सीट पे बिठाया गया और वहाँ पे सर बिल्कुल कंफर्टेबली कोई बैठ ही नहीं पाता था.
you're hearing these stories. You're hearing Maheshwar Perry. What perhaps is the problem? The supply demand that you spoke on, 23-25 lakh students desperate to get those 30,000 seats that will make a difference to their lives. Is it simply too big now for one agency to conduct this exam? Do we need to find a way, as some states are suggesting, let's try and decentralize this exam? Is that the solution? Or as is being suggested by some of the others, that if the JEE can do it, if CAT can do it, why can't NEET?
No, I think first of all, JE also has been compromised multiple years, so let's not get there. The thing is, Rajdeep, I think first of all, the correction, it's not the coaching mafia, it's the exam center that is compromised. Every single time what happens is an exam center is compromised, the superintendent is compromised, and between the center and the exam superintendent, they actually because they get the paper early, that they can actually release that 2 hours, 3 hours before. Because the center goes and collects the paper from a bank at 7 in the morning. So you actually have 3 hours of time between the supervisor and the exam center. And those are the 3 hours which are very crucial where the paper gets leaked, right? That's the first part of it. The second thing is, Rajdeep, this is obviously the kind of structure that we created ourselves with. 24 lakh students fighting, competing for about 35-40,000 seats, which is always bound to create some kind of a problem. But this time the problem is, I think, top down and not bottom up. It's not just about a couple of exam centers, it is much, much more. It is not just about, some paper getting leaked or some compromise happening at a center. It is much more.
No, so is it the NTA? Is it the NTA? No, so who is
dramatic?
No, so who, according to you, is the one who is on test here? Is it the National Testing Agency? Is it the HRD Ministry?
NTA.
When you say top,
NTA
so
has been...
No, so do we need to change the way
NTA.
the NTA functions? How does the NTA function? Tell our viewers, and how do you believe it should function?
Rajdeep, earlier when the exams were being conducted, CBSE was conducting the examination and CBSE schools were the center. In which case, now there is a direct control and ownership of the school, recognition, everything, right? Now you and I can go and enlist a center if I want to. And someone at NTA level can actually approve your center. And that's where the compromise starts. When you actually have a center compromise, then you have everything in examination compromise, which seems to be happening repeatedly of late. In fact, I'll give you an example, Rajdeep. 2022, there's a police officer from Delhi who sat for an examination, enrolled as a student, paid an agent, sat in the examination, and got 780 out of 800 marks in GMAT. 780 out of 800, he paid 10 lakh rupees. Then they went around arresting people and realized that 820 students actually used the services of a Russian hacker who was, hacking the examination and answering on your terminal from Russia. So this is not a new thing that we're dealing with. All I'm saying is NTA has been trying to give itself a clean chit. Government has been trying to be a spokesperson of NTA, whereas they should be speaking on behalf of the student, because this time the manipulation or the kind of ranges that we see, the digression that we saw is dramatic.
Okay, let me hear from the HRD Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. He's the man who has to answer a few hard questions. Our correspondent Milan Sharma caught up with him. What did Dharmendra Pradhan have to say to this controversy? Listen in.
ग्रेस मार्क के सुप्रीम कोर्ट की प्रदत्त एक फॉर्मूला को अपनाया गया। एनटीए ने कोई अपने से नहीं कर दिया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट की एक क्लार्क की परीक्षा के मामले में मॉडल था, लेकिन उसमें भी कुछ विद्यार्थियों के मन में आया कि इसके कारण कुछ लोगों को शायद नाजायज फायदा मिल रहा है, उसको भी रद्द किया गया। फिर एक नया व्यवस्था सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दिया कि उनको उन 1563 बच्चों को जिन्होंने आपत्ति किया था कि मेरे को कम समय मिला, जो कोर्ट तक आए थे, उनको एक बार परीक्षा देने के अवसर दे दो। ये सारे करने के बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एंडोर्स किया है उसको। हम पारदर्शिता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। उसमें मैं विद्यार्थियों को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं, सरकार उनके भविष्य के साथ कोई खिलवाड़ नहीं करेगी।
What is the way forward? The minister is defending NTA. Vivek Thakur, do you believe NTA needs to be re-looked at, and is there a better way? Give me a better way. Problem to sabne bol diya aaj show pe. What is the better way, Vivek?
See, NTA needs to be dissolved, according to me, given its track record, because it doesn't have academicians. It has bureaucrats drawn from top bureaucracy, and they do not know the ABC of these exams. That is a big problem. If you go for IIT JEE exam, it has 2 levels. So the suggested way is they screen 14 lakh students, and the top 250,000 students have to appear in another exam. So all this, it will be very tough for the cheating mafia to execute. If there is a 2-tier exam, in the first tier you have the offline, because the NTA comes with this problem that for 24 lakh students, we do not have the infrastructure to conduct online exam. Okay, fine. So you conduct a screening exam, same as in
So you're saying conduct a screening exam. We've got limited time. You're saying 2-tier exam, yes. Conduct a screening exam. Maheshwar Perry, you're not agreeing. You're shaking your head.
Top 5 lakh students do a second level exam.
Okay, top 5 lakh do a second level. Mahesh, very quickly.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm sorry. You shouldn't impose another exam on the student. See, even for the JEE, you actually have all the NIT seats being decided by the first examination. So let's not get there of trying to say, okay, for IIT seats,
so what's the solution then, Mahesh?
For NIT it is not really
So
clean.
what's the solution?
Let's not get there. Let's not. The simple
but
thing
UPSC
is,
is 3-level exam.
See, every single time when you actually find a problem, you don't. No, at every JEE main has only one exam where all NIT seats are taken, boss. Let's leave it there, right? All I'm saying is, Rajdeep, you actually see the smoke signals every single time. We don't cover it up and we move on to the next examination. That is a problem. Every single time we know that centers are compromised. It's very simple, Rajdeep. A center where non-home state students, multiple non-home state students are coming in, let's say Godhra for that matter, where people from Jharkhand and Karnataka and Orissa and all were coming in. Or a center where you actually have very unrealistic marks. See, there is always a scrutiny that you do of a certain number of centers. Scrutinize those centers where there are non-home state numbers, a larger score that is happening, large number of toppers happening. There is a scrutiny level where you need to find out
who's going to do it?
Start looking at
them
who's going to do it? Blacklisting them.
That's will the same NTA do it?
It's not going to happen. It will just continue
An
like
independent auditor. Rajdeep, I suggested this. Rajdeep, I suggested this. The thing is, you need to go for a transparent audit.
Rajdeep, in JEE exam, JEE advanced exam, IIT professors themselves are present in the center.
So, sorry. Okay, you're saying independent auditor, Mahesh. What are you saying, Vivek? Go ahead.
In JEE advanced exam, the sanctity
no,
is never
Vivek
compromised because...
You're saying independent auditor, let him respond. Let
forensic audit and a technical audit of... Absolutely. A forensic audit and a technical audit is what is required to understand the quantum of the problem that we're dealing with. It's not 24 lakh, mind you. It is a few centers, a few students in certain places. Once you identify the problem, if it is too big, then you go for a retest. If it's not too big, confine it to those centers where there is a large amount of digression and deal with that.
Vivek, is that a way forward?
So I think this audit thing is not going to solve the problem because we need to look at those exams whose sanctity had never been compromised, the questions had never been raised. Like in JEE advanced exam, in every center that the exam is conducted, 2 IIT professors are present there as an advisors, as an auditors to look into the things. Here in this exam, the centers are held in very small locations like the Bahadurgarh case, the Jhajjar case that you know, where even the...
No, 1 minute, Mahesh, let him complete. Mahesh, he should be... No, Mahesh, he did not. Let him complete.
State police doesn't take interest because it's a national level exam. Like in UP, the police constable exam, entrance exam, the state government was directly, its reputation was at stake. So the local administration was full in support. But if you go and observe at these centers, the local police doesn't have any interest because it is not.
So you're saying you need better police.
Structural problems.
Okay. You made your point. Let's get in the Dr. Rahul Chawla. What's your solution?
I think first investigation has to be conducted. We know there were so many wrongs. First, we need to look at it, why the things went wrong and who were the people who were responsible. And first, the system has to be fixed. Now, whether you make NTA the exam controlling authority or not, whether you bring in some other authority, the problem is going to remain the same till we don't fix the issues. So the issues have to be fixed first. And this problem is not new. It has been happening since eternity. And everyone knows about it.
Okay.
So why not we do something so that these things do not happen in the magnitude like this has happened?
I'm looking, as I said, finding a solution in this case is not so easy. Saransh Oja, are you going to do the exam again next year? Aap karte rahoge, and what would for you be a better way? Are you happy with the way? Is this the only way? Or give me a solution. Tumhare paas koi solution hai, Saransh?
Yes, no, sir, definitely I'm not happy with the result. I was expecting 9300 rank, but I'm getting 37,899. So my rank has spiked up to 4 times. I was, of course, not happy with my result. But the better solution is 2-step test pattern. First must be screening, and second must be exam conducted by AIMS, just like IITs and JEE Advanced.
So you're saying 2 stages, Vivek Priyadarshi. Do you want the entire exam to be revamped, to change? पूरा एग्जाम बदलना चाहिए?
यस सर, बदलना तो चाहिए सर. जैसे रैंक आया है सर, उसके अकॉर्डिंग 650 वाले को सर कॉलेज मिलना बहुत मुश्किल रहेगा, और सर 720 वाले को टॉप का कॉलेज भी मिले, ये भी बहुत मुश्किल की बात है. सर मैं चाहता हूँ एग्जाम इस तरीके से हो कि सर 550 वाले को भी कॉलेज मिले और सर 720 वाले को भी मिले. सर कम से कम 150 मार्क्स का डिफरेंस होना चाहिए सर, मिनिमम और मैक्सिमम कट ऑफ में.
ओके, ठीक है. These are solutions that are being offered. As I said, we will continue to carry on this campaign. I speak today not just as a news anchor, but as a father of a young doctor. I know what people are going through when they have to do these exams. We need a complete change. It is not good enough what Dharmendra Pradhan said, that giving NTA the benefit of the doubt, not good enough. Supreme Court has put it rightly. Even if there is a 0.001% thing that has gone wrong, that's simply not good enough. If we can conduct elections across this country, across 97 crore voters, we can jolly well get these exams right and get the lakhs of students at least to believe, to reduce their mistrust in the way exams are conducted. That is good governance. That is what we need. After this election, let's all focus on governance issues. That's what we need to see. I appreciate my guests joining us, and we hope that these solutions will continuously be debated. Let me turn to another big story today. Indian national Nikhil Gupta, accused of being involved in a murder plot against Khalistani separatist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, has pleaded not guilty in a federal court in New York. Gupta was arrested, remember, in the Czech Republic on June 30th last year on charges of being involved in an alleged assassination of the Khalistani separatists and then extradited from Czechoslovakia to the United States. It could turn out to be a major diplomatic row. Take a look.
Nikhil Gupta, the Indian national who was extradited to the United States in connection with the murder for hire plot against Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu on American soil, has pleaded not guilty in court. The development comes at a time when US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is in Delhi for an annual dialogue with his Indian counterpart Ajit Doval. When asked whether Sullivan would raise the matter during his visit to India, the US government refrained from commenting on the issue.
In Jake's meetings in India, has the plot to kill an American Sikh activist come up at all? And do you expect that to be part of the discussions?
I don't have more to add on the conversations that Jake's having. He's still over there having these conversations, but the main focus of his visit, as I said, was to look for ways to deepen the U.S.-India bilateral relationship, particularly when it comes to emerging technology.
Will you bring this up?
I don't have anything more to add on the conversations.
Nikhil Gupta is accused of plotting Pannu's murder on American soil, allegedly at the instructions of an unnamed Indian officer. US claims that the Indian official recruited Gupta to arrange the assassination. According to US documents, Gupta later hired a hitman to kill Pannu and allegedly made an advance payment of $15,000. Gupta travelled to Prague from India last June and was arrested by Czech authorities there. For all the dramatic twists and turns, experts don't believe that this case will impact India-US relations.
They will keep the pot boiling. But at the same time, this will not prevent the United States and India from agreeing on major matters, except that, if I may say so, they will make use of this to put further pressure on India on other matters.
With Nikhil Gupta now in the United States of America, the murder for hire case has taken a serious turn. With questions being raised about India's intelligence agencies, should there be an adverse ruling in the matter, it will impact Indo-US ties. In New Delhi, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
And we'll have much more on that story in the days ahead. Let me turn to another story. We are tracking Manipur, where peace and normalcy is yet to return more than 13 months after ethnic violence broke out there. Yesterday, Home Minister Amit Shah held a high-level meeting. But the situation on the ground remains very tense and in some parts violent. India Today's Ashutosh travelled to Imphal to understand the current situation. Here's his report.
Women paraded naked. Violence. An arson. Unprecedented scenes unfolded in Manipur. That was in 2023. A year later, the northeastern state is trying to get back to normalcy. The roads of Imphal would be shut after 5 p.m. due to curfew. Now they're not. The biggest change on ground is the invisible, unspoken border that has been drawn between the Meitei-dominated areas in the entire valley, including Imphal and the Kuki tribal-dominated areas in the mountains surrounding the valley.
After crossing the Meitei-dominated areas in the valley, now I am here in Technopole. Now the boundaries between these two districts, which is the Thoubal and the Technopole, there is a long buffer zone, nearly more than a kilometer. Yes, in the same state, just between two districts, there is a long buffer zone made by the central forces. And this buffer zone was created by the central forces to keep the Meiteis and Kuki at far distance from each other ever since the ethnic violence broke out.
Hundreds of Meitei Hindu families who were forced to flee their homes have been living in relief camps for over a year now.
मोरे मेरा घर ही सपना में आता है बाद में हम लोग सपना जो खुल जाता है ना उस समय तो इधर भी रहा हम लोग क्या करेगा इधर भी रह क्या बोलेगा मालूम नहीं
बच्चा पूछता है मम्मा घर कब जाएंगे अपने पुराने
पूछता है किधर जाएगा हम लोग इधर में कब तक रहेगा मम्मा इधर में हम लोग एक सुबह में हम लोग इधर में खाना एक सुबह का और शाम का मिलेगा मिलने से हम लोग का फ्यूचर क्या करेगा है ना हम लोग क्या करके हम लोग का फ्यूचर कैसा बनाएगा करके बहुत पूछता है
Thoubal district, which was formerly rife with violence, is now tranquil. Farmers have now returned to their fields. Amid the ongoing challenges, Manipur Chief Minister expressed optimism about Manipur's imminent return to full normalcy.
मणिपुर में जो अभी थर्ड में से जो हो रहा है 23 थर्ड में से इसी बीच में आप देखा थोड़ा शुरू में इतना जोर से कर रहा था तो उसके बाद में सेंट्रल फोर्सेस वगैरह आने के बाद और वल्नरेबल एरिया में डिप्लॉय करने के बाद में काफी सुधरा और सुधरते मतलब इमीडिएटली इसको सॉल्यूशन लाने का तो थोड़ा टाइम तो लगेगा क्योंकि पॉलिटिकली सॉल्यूशन करना है डायलॉग करना है बातचीत करना है
But despite assurances and the passage of time, scars remain. With Ashutosh Mishra from Imphal, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what's the road ahead in Manipur, India's forgotten state? Dr. Bimal Oikojam has just been elected the Member of Parliament from the Inner Manipur constituency of the Congress Party. Appreciate your joining us, Dr. Oikojam. Is there a sense of fear in the state now, a year since the violence broke out in Manipur? We've had the Home Minister having a review meeting, but we are seeing violence returning in several parts of the country, of Manipur. Is it that this cycle of violence just isn't breaking out?
Yeah, that's true. But in fact, the same thing that started on 3rd May, we can't call it a day. It's still continuing. And then I think the latest incident is only indicating this fact. Unfortunately, it has spread to Jiribam is in the western side of the state, which has been peaceful throughout this year, but that part has also been affected by the same violence now.
Well, what explains this? 13 months on, a state is not able to control violence. More than 225 people have reportedly died. Thousands are still in relief camps.
It's a very fundamental principle is that, this country, as you know, is not no stranger to communal violence or this kind of clashes. But normally it is brought under control within a couple of hours or maximum 1 week or 2, things get normalized. But when these things get on for so long, it only tells you that the system is implicated in this problem. This is an unprecedented failure of the Indian state. Right under the nose of the security forces and police, violence has been happening. This is something we all have seen it.
No, you're saying in a sense it's a complete failure of the Indian state, but is it a failure of the Chief Minister Biren Singh as well? We have visuals of this meeting yesterday of the Home Minister Amit Shah holding with top security officers, but there was no Chief Minister then. The Chief Minister wasn't present. Does the buck stop at Biren Singh's door or does it go all the way to Home Minister Amit Shah?
Rajdeep, if you have followed it, there is this drama of 355 being played out, and we have suspected, and now it is coming out slowly, that the law and order situation was not absolutely in the hands of the state government, it seems, because it is under the diktat of the union government. They have appointed a security advisor, and the DGP, and all these things seems to have been carried out under the instruction of the New Delhi. Which is actually working against the federal structure of the country. And this chief minister has been a willing scapegoat, to my mind. He should have protested to protect the autonomy of the state and the federal structure of the country. And that's how the mess has been. Nobody knows who was actually in charge of it. I think Mr. Biren Singh seem to have served the purpose of defending the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. Otherwise, the entire blame would have come on them before the election. That would have been bad for the BJP.
So what's the solution? Is there a solution 13 months on if the violence continues? Is the solution simply trying to first bridge the trust deficit between the Meitei and Kuki communities who just don't want to live with each other?
I have been saying this from the day one, that the Indian state should rein in the violence. That's the first and foremost thing that should have done. And it is still the primary task that we need to carry it out. The state should assert its authority. And the violence should be reined in. Then rest we can talk about it later on. Right now, the violence is not under control by the state. You have more than 60,000 armed forces of the union in the state, reportedly. And besides, you have another 50, 60,000, Manipur police personnel. And right under their nose, this violence has been going on. And I think that is a clear thing that should have been there in everybody's mind. I think that's the first thing. According to me, the violence must be reined in. The authority of the Indian state must be asserted.
But given, Mr. Given the number of security that exists on the ground, the fact is, with such a big security presence, if the violence continues, what is the message that the people of Manipur are getting, according to you?
No, it's just not only the people of Manipur, it's the entire country. Just think that Manipur is one of the most militarized states in the country. You have armed forces, special power act in various parts of the state, and the area of operations of the security forces, the union forces are there. Even under CRPC 131, these union forces are supposed to respond to any crisis in and around their area of operation. And right under their nose, villages have been sort of destroyed and people have been slaughtered. And the state police, which had been almost delegitimized, is splitted. It is ineffective tool. And then you have sent in so many union forces right from the first month of the crisis itself. And as I said, that the armed forces are here, stationed already, and right under their area of operation, so many violence have happened. So we must fix accountability for this.
Okay, so you're saying you have to fix accountability. That's one solution. But the wider question that I asked you earlier, bridging the divide between people, restoring an element of trust between communities, how does that happen?
I think that is, I'm honestly speaking, that's a secondary question. The first thing first, we must have this sense that the state is still there. As Weber says, the state must claim the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force in order to establish law and order. And that must be the precondition for anything that we do after that. There's a complete statelessness. There is violence, and violence has been privatized, and people armed to the teeth, moving around both everywhere in the state practically. And they're fighting what the state forces are doing. When I say state forces, it's not only the police. As I said, UPSPA is operational in many areas in this state. and every square centimeter of the state is covered by either an army or a paramilitary units, besides the police stations. Why is that despite this deep militarized state, how come that this Indian might was not exercised in order to bring this violence under control? That's the fundamental question.
Okay, my final question then. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi, elected now for a third time, he hasn't visited Manipur even once so far in the last 13 months. Do you believe it is time that he visits Manipur? Will that resolve anything according to you, Mr. Oikojam?
No, I think I have said this incidentally in May last year. One of the first things that the Prime Minister should have done is call all his MLAs then. Instead of divide and rule policy, it smacks of a very unfortunate kind of a politics. You call the Kuki MLA separate, you call the Naga MLA separate, and ask these Meitei's MLAs to keep quiet. What's going on? Instead of that, they should have called and said, my people are suffering, and you must stop right now. And he could have called these people, and if he had gone to Manipur and spoken a few words, a healing touch, and to restore order, such a powerful man, I think it would have been resolved long time back. And I still wish, gone are gone days. I think past is past. I fervently wish that the Prime Minister take the necessary step for the necessary healing touch, and also to assert the Indian state and its authority, and do away with this privatization of violence in the state.
Those are very strong words that you're talking about. The state has disappeared in Manipur, and you're calling for the state to assert itself in Manipur before any step can be taken to bridge the divide between communities. Manipur needs peace, and we will continue to track this story even if other channels are allowing it to fall off the map. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story. And it's a story of hope. Residents of Nirmal Jyot village in Bengal were gearing up for Eid festivities on Monday morning when suddenly the rear-end collision involving the Kanchenjunga Express and a goods train occurred. Setting aside their Eid celebrations, the locals immediately engaged in rescue and relief efforts. Let's take a look at this Get Real India report.
It's a heartbreaking festival for the residents of Nirmal Jyot village. It decided not to celebrate Bakri Eid this year, mourning as it was for the dead in the Kanchenjunga Express train accident. At least 9 passengers were killed and 40 others injured when a goods train smashed into passenger train from behind.
ईद तो थी, लेकिन क्या करे, करीबी रेलवे ये रेल लाइन है, यहाँ रेल दुर्घटना हादसा हुआ, इसी वजह से बहुत सारे लोगों की जान चली गई। तो गांव के जो करीब है, इसी वजह से आज पूरे गांव वालों ने मिल करके मशवरा किया है कि आज हम लोग जो ईद की जो ईद उल अज़हा की नमाज, वो नमाज तो हम लोग पढ़ चुके, लेकिन कुर्बानी हमारी बाकी रह गई। कुर्बानी आज हम लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं।
It was from this village that first responders and rescuers emerged. The harrowing incident writ large, compelling the village to drop any plans of celebrating the festival. MD Hassan, a 21-year-old from Tambari, who reached the accident site, said he rescued the loco pilot of the goods train which collided with Kanchenjunga Express.
आपने ये किया था, लोगों को निकाला था वहाँ से। किस हालत में थी वो लोग?
बहुत बुरी हालत में थी। हम लोगों को निकाल के अपने गाड़ी से मेडिकल कॉलेज लेके गया था।
कितने लोगों को फंसे हुए वहाँ से निकाले?
हम लोग शायद 12-15 होगा।
हम लोग देखा यहाँ पे एक इंजन पीछे से आके कंचनजंगा एक्सप्रेस में आके पूरा धक्का मारा है पीछे से, तो पूरा बहुत आदमी चिल्ला रहा था इधर, चिल्ला के बहुत आदमी आके आया। हम लोग नमाज पढ़ने के बाद आने के बाद इसको निकाला गाड़ी से, निकालने के बाद गाड़ी उड़ी में लेके मेडिकल भेजा।
The unified effort of the villagers and the administration highlighted the strength and resilience of the community. and the selflessness of a united India. Bureau Report, India Today.
There is hope. Umeed pe duniya kayam hai. This is the power of the ordinary citizen who sets aside all religious festivities to help his fellow Indians or her fellow Indians. I want to leave you with an image of the day which shows the other side, the not so nice side of this country. A portion of a newly constructed bridge over the Bakra River in Bihar's Ararya collapsed right before its scheduled inauguration. The bridge was constructed by the state government but was not open to the public as approach roads to the bridge were yet to be constructed. The cause of the incident is not yet known, but this is not the first time a newly constructed bridge in Bihar has collapsed in this manner. I wonder who made all the money on that bridge. Think about that and stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri. Jai Hind. Namaskar.